Hello everyone and welcome to the first Patreon monthly recommendations vlog video thing. I'm not quite sure where I'm going to go with this. If you have any suggestions, please feel free to put them in the comment section. But for now I thought I would just recommend some films and some games that I've really enjoyed this month that I think you will like as well while I drink my tea. Chamomile goodness. In an American Eagle mug, which seems a little contradictory when you've got America on the outside and calming flowers on the inside. Okay, so my first recommendation for this month is The Long Weekend. Yes, I'm covering the tag because it basically ruins the concept of the entire movie. If any of you really love horror films, or just films in general, you probably are aware of this really niche Australian indie horror movie circuit where these amazing gems are hiding. This is one of those gems. It's just not anciently old, but old enough that no one's really looking for it. Anyway, so for all intents and purposes, it's a masterclass. I hate to use those sorts of buzzwords because everyone uses them these days, but it really is a masterclass in building tension and dread. The basic plot is that a husband and wife are going out to the Australian outback, like kind of a cove area, to vacation. It's sort of a long weekend, hence the title. I can't believe I just put the two and two together. To save their marriage, and needless to say, a lot of things happen that reveal why their marriage is a little bit on the rocks, a lot bit on the rocks, and a whole bunch of other stuff. This is very hard to talk about without spoiling the entire thing. What I will say is it's one of those films that you watch very much teetering on the edge of your seat, and there's some really creepy imagery in it that I don't think I'll ever forget. If you really love slow, tense, indie, Australian horror films, any of the above, some of them, I don't know, then definitely go for The Long Weekend. It is very good, and now available on Blu-ray DVD. Next up, I have two itch games. Again, of the horror variety. I'm sorry, I'm going to try and vary it up in future so that it's not all horror related, but I am a fan of horror. So first up is Anatomy, which I played because RPS did an article on it. I'd never heard of it before, didn't know anything about it. It just piqued my interest, so I found it on itch. I even created a profile just so I could play it, and I was really pleasantly surprised. It's very, very short. I would say half an hour to an hour long at a push, but basically you're walking around this house and you're just collecting audio tapes. I know that sounds incredibly boring, but but again, the way it builds atmosphere and tension and dread is all very, very well done, and it kind of hinges around this central concept of the house as a body. So you have the heart of the house, you have the lungs of the house, you have the teeth, and it's just really well done, and I think the reason why it's so effective is it's written exceptionally well. And by written, of course, I mean the recordings, the videotapes. They're just scripted so incredibly well. It's almost like a poem, really. It's very, very interesting and not like anything else I've really played or seen before, so I recommend that one. The second itch game that I recommend is called VHS, which I really liked. It's a little rougher around the edges than Anatomy. I think Anatomy is this perfect little creation, whereas VHS has all the right ideas, but it's very basic. Still, the ideas I'm really fond of because it makes me think an awful lot of Siren. I'm sure if you've been watching me for many, many years, you'll know how obsessed I am with Siren and how much I love the series. Even Blood Curse, which is the one I really dislike the most. Part of what makes Siren so good is you have the sight jack ability, so you jump into the eyes. Well, not into the eyes literally, that sounds a bit weird, but you can see through the eyes of your enemies, so you know where you're at. If they've spotted you, you can sort of figure out their patterns, so you can avoid them, that sort of thing. VHS is quite similar, only it uses the tracking system on a VHS player as your sight. You have a standard view, and by changing the tracking, you see a different view. So in one view, you'll just see an empty building, for example. In another, you'll see obstacles within that building. So if you're in standard view and you walk down a corridor and bump into something, change the tracking and you'll figure out what it is that you're bumping into, that sort of thing. Another track also hides monsters. Again, the monsters aren't very scary and it is very simple, but I really like the concept that you're very limited in what you can see and what knowledge is available to you, and I think that's really smart. So I would also recommend VHS as well. Pretty sure both of these are free or donate what you want. Next up is another movie. It's not a fictional film, it's a documentary called Shirkers, and it's on Netflix right now, or at least the UK Netflix. I'm not sure if it's on American Netflix or if that's the same thing. But it's absolutely fascinating, and I don't really see that many people talking about it, which kind of confuses me. It's done incredibly well in the, I guess, film festival circuit. I think it won an award at either Sundance or Cannes or something like that. But I haven't seen very many reviews of the film just online or on YouTube or anywhere really. I guess the main reason I want to recommend it is that it's proof that truth is often so much stranger than fiction. It's such a bizarre tale, one that you wouldn't expect. The person who's narrating the film, I think her name's Sandy Tan, she and her friends, back when they were teenagers living in Singapore, decided to make a road movie called Shirkers. And this wasn't just some, I don't know, summer kind of whim that they had. I mean, she wrote a script and they got location people, they had a director, they had a sound guy, you know, they really tried very, very hard. They were living in a time of very heavy censorship, so to watch any movies outside of Singapore, a lot of the big films at the time, they had to really get creative. So they wanted to make their own film. And I suppose this is a really interesting aspect of it. Considering that Shirkers is a road movie, the film Shirkers goes on quite a journey, and technically across the globe. So I won't ruin it beyond that, but what I will say is that it's just a really fascinating look at so many different themes, from collaboration, you know, to working with other people, to the film industry in general, phases of film. Anyway, Shirkers, documentary, really interesting, very unexpected, and a film that more people should be talking about, in my opinion. The next thing I want to recommend, I'm not sure if I should be recommending it now or next year, which might seem like a really odd thing to say, however, is a TV show. However, there are only 6 episodes in this season, and they're about 40 minutes long each. They've left it on such a monumental cliffhanger. You know, cliffhanger doesn't quite cover it. It's like Mount Fuji hanger, which wouldn't be so much of a problem, but I swear I read somewhere that they're not filming the second season until like February next year or something, or maybe they're releasing it February next year. Basically, you're going to have to wait an entire year to conclude this story. Now, the TV show is called Kingdom. It's a zombie show, for all intents and purposes, but it's set in a sort of old world Korean, I don't think it's a real place, I think it's a fictional land. I'm certain the show is actually based on a book or something of that nature. So anyway, I think it's more fantasy than it is reality, but it takes the concept of sort of living in that time when resources were very much limited, you know, carts were drawn by horses. You put them in a scenario where there are zombies everywhere and it suddenly dials up the action, gore, dread, suspense up to about 20, and it's unbearable. There were points in the show where I couldn't physically watch, and that's not like me. Not for gore, just it was so suspenseful I couldn't handle it. Literally, it was unbearable. So I highly recommend Kingdom, but maybe leave it until next year. I feel like that's the kind thing to say. And that's what I have this month. Not very much, I appreciate, although I did start about 2 weeks into this month with video making, since I actually started Patreon, I think I'm pretty sure it was the 2nd week of January, so I was sort of behind when I started. So I haven't really had that much time to do a lot outside of making videos and playing and finishing the games that I'm talking about. However, hopefully in future I will have a little bit more to share with you. If there's anything you would like to see from these videos, please just comment below, give me some feedback. I'll take that on board and see if I can implement some of them. At the moment, I thought just a casual sit down and a check-in with all of you would be nice. And hopefully you think my taste is okay. Sounds stupid. I feel like perhaps I should also add what it is that I've been playing at the moment. Maybe to just keep you updated on what it is that I'm doing. that seems like a good idea. They're not all necessarily going to become videos, but hey ho. So at the moment, outside of Resident Evil 2, I'm playing Technomancer on the PlayStation 4, which is by a development team called Spiders. And I'm also planning to play Vane. If I can get a hold of that, that would be really great. I mentioned it very briefly in a video I made about games I was looking forward to in 2015, which is hilarious because obviously it wasn't coming out in 2015, it's coming out now, 2019. But it's still something I'm very interested in. And with that, I feel I should let you get on with your day and your lives. So thank you again for watching. And as always, I will see you all very soon. Goodbye for now. What is this? What is that? I don't know.